the first thing that we want to start with is welcome our guest, Greg Reuter from Deductible Defender. And he's been with us before, but under a different alias. So we're going to let him talk about the new name and share with us some ideas and just some more information about the product and how you can integrate it into your sales cycle in your offices. And so with that, Greg, thank you so much for being with us.
Perfect. Thanks, Robin. I appreciate that. As everybody was probably familiar with, the all vehicle protection plan with deductible reimbursement benefit, we heard from a lot of agents and producers, CSRs, everybody, just the challenge of how do you bring it up? Like, it's a mouthful to say the Farmers Union Agency all vehicle protection plan with deductible reimbursement benefits. So that's where Deductible Defender came from. Just make it easy. We redid all of our marketing materials, so there's all sorts of new information there, email campaigns, sales scripts, you name it. The process did not change. So your enrollment link, everything else is the same as what you were used to. Nothing changed there. So I want to clarify that just to make sure if nobody's like looking for a new link or going to the Deductible Defender website thinking there's something different. That whole process has stayed the same. So hopefully you've seen all the information. I know it's out there in your SharePoint so you can see it and look at all the information, the new materials that are there. Scroll through it. Let us know what you think. If there's anything you need changed or questions that pops up, let us know. Before we go in, just a real quick review. So Robin, if you want to pull up that one pager, or Letitia, whoever's doing that, the one of the combined AVPP with the home. But one thing for everybody to think about, and we'll circle back to this in just a couple of minutes, but back with that same idea of how do we talk about it? When do we bring it up? All of that. Start pondering any ideas. And those of you that are successfully offering it and selling plans, when do you bring it up? Maybe there's some sharing that we can do, but how do we get people more comfortable just talking about it? Because when we look at the plan benefits and what the programs do, where they give you a competitive advantage. You're one of the first agencies in the country to offer Deductible Defender. So there's some distinction there, just a competitive advantage. And then when you also look at the benefit of being able to possibly raise collision deductibles on all their vehicles, offset that home deductible increase as carriers are going to percentages, and different things, wind and hail deductibles higher than most people are used to. Having a solution for in their time of need when that happens. And then also a really good competitive advantage to give you something to talk about at renewal. It's nice having a few people on camera because I always like sharing. I wish I could see everybody, but my question is, when's the last time you've been able to be excited about working a renewal? It's like usually you're dreading it because it's an 8% increase, 20% increase. What are we dealing with here? And it's nice to have an option that you can look at making some adjustments to their deductibles and potentially offset that premium increase, give them some premium savings, things like that. So I really feel we're uniquely positioned to be able to give you a lot of different things to talk about. But before we go into sales and other ideas and how some of you are utilizing the plan, any questions on the plan benefits themselves? The all vehicle protection plan for $169 a year, less than 50 cents a day, a lot of value there. Because again, it's not just the cars in the driveway. And I usually question even the people on this call, how many VIN numbers do you personally insure? Is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 7? When you include the motorcycle, the camper, the personal watercraft, the snowmobile, the fishing boat, golf cart, a lot of value there. So, but any questions on the products themselves that you run into or questions that customers have? I can say it should be old hat unless you're new. And if you are new and you want to go through a little bit more detail, just reach out. Jim and Robin and everybody can give you my contact information. feel free to reach out. We'll just schedule 15 minutes, go through it, get you comfortable. If you have things that you want to talk about there, that would be great. If you want to transition, Robin, to the one that's the low-hanging fruit slide that I emailed you individually yesterday, that would be great. But as we do that, for those of you that are on the call that do a really good job, Carol obviously was a rock star from the beginning. Aaron, you're on here. There's definitely some other names I recognize, Madison, where I see your name on the production reports and different things. How are you presenting this, or how are you making it easy and building it into your daily conversations and workflows, either for yourself as that reminder or for the producer that you work with? How are you embedding that into the conversation and the workflow? I know they're on the call.
Maddie Stokes shared that she has a template that she adds to her email. Maddie, do you want to just explain a little bit about your process?
I just emailed the template, but I created an email template that just starts with, and another thing I want to mention to you. So anytime I send a quote or rewrite quotes out to anybody, I always have a spreadsheet that I put, if you increase your deductibles to this, here's what this will cost. And then at the back end of the email, it just says, and another thing, our agency has a deductible reimbursement plan here. And I explain a little bit what it is and how it works. And for example, if you hit a deer, and then the process of how that would work. And so I just put it at the back end of every quote email I send out.
That's great. Awesome. Did you send that to Robin, or if you can forward it to me as well? I'd love to see it and use it as a tool for other folks. That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Aaron or Carol, anybody else have anything to add as you're talking about it and bringing it up in conversation?
I would say our office is really good about just, especially with this progressive home deductible change. If they're, around that $5,000-$6,000 mark, but their rates are still really good, sometimes I'll just send out an email offering that $2,500 Defender, so that they can still keep their, lower premium, but at least get a little bit of money back if they have a claim. But yeah, I guess we're just really good about getting the information out. I attach the PDF is on my desktop. I just attach it to all my emails that go out with our progressive requotes. And yeah, I guess we just make sure we just offer it and explain it to them, and we're really just thorough about it, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's really the message that we hear from all of our top producers. There's no secret sauce. They just talk about it. They let people know what we have available, how it can help them. Maybe it's not even offsetting premium. Again, if somebody's just chatting and you look at this screen of low-hanging fruit, here we are Wednesday afternoon. How many people have each of you talked to already this week that maybe fits into one of these categories? Whether they're just kicking tires and I'm going to go shopping this weekend, what would premiums look like on one vehicle versus another? Somebody calls in and you're like, wow, they still have a $250 deductible, which a lot of older people have just because that's what they've always had. Maybe see if you can get them to go to a $500 deductible. A lot of them are living on a fixed income. If you can give them a little bit of an incremental savings, even to save $10, $15, $20 a month would be a big deal to them. You've heard me talk about it before, and I just did a little recording that was in our October newsletter talking about youthful drivers. I've gone through it. Some of you, I'm sure, have. When you add your 16-year-old son or daughter to your policy, it's a horrible day. You've been dreading, is it $100 a month, $200 a month? How bad is it going to be? Look at raising that collision deductible, not just on that vehicle you're adding for that 16-year-old, but see if it's an option on all the other collateral, all the other vehicles on their policy, and see if you can offset it completely. There's a good chance you can. And then ask for referrals. You know, my daughter has a class of 417 kids. That's 416 referrals for you. Ask them when you're at that next football game, when you're at the choir concert, the church activity, whatever it is, and there's other people that have kids in the same grade, talk to them about Deductible Defender and let them know, hey, call Sally. She's got something really cool, and it actually didn't cost me anything to add little Timmy in the old pickup. Things like that, but use it as a referral opportunity. But the message is really just talk about it, let people know. So again, Maddie, what you're doing, Aaron, including something with all those emails that go out, all those communications, all those phone calls, just let them know that it's available. There's a quote worksheet in the documentation that we put out. So, you know, similar to probably what Maddie and others are using, just a way to summarize it. Nobody likes shopping for insurance. So if you can dumb it down for the customer on the one page, here's the overview, here's what we have available. Here's the Farmers Union Advantage with Deductible Defender. This is what we recommend. Things like that just makes it an easy part of the conversation and non-salesy. Again, always recommend that you have one or both of the plans yourself, because it's kind of like an umbrella liability policy or life insurance. It's a lot easier to sell and have that conviction in your voice if you own it yourself. Plus, you know, I'm guessing a few of you on this call maybe have even had claims. I was dealing with an agent of ours in Texas that had a claim, and he's like, this will be great having a $2,500 home deductible reimbursement to share, like myself personally. Things like that. So you'll hear those stories. You maybe have other customers you've helped with claims, things like that. But the bottom line, talk about it, see what you can do. My goal always to start, try and sell one a week. Give yourself that goal of, you know, man, if I talk to enough people and just let them know and I get comfortable with it, one a week is pretty easy. We have, as you see in our newsletter, people consistently 10, 15, 18. In August, we had, actually it was a CSR from an agency in Illinois. Andrea sold 31 all vehicle protection plans in the month of August. That's by herself. And she, you know, the message is the same as what you guys are sharing. I talk about it. I let people know we have it. I build it into my quotes. I share information, answer a few questions. And again, all of hers were the all vehicle protection plan, but she knows it'll open up conversation for owners at their next renewal or when the carriers like Progressive are making those changes. So just get comfortable talking about it. A lot of value in those plans. So give it a try. Talk about it. See, you know, I always say the hardest one is your first one, but give yourself that goal of one a week. And then Jim Hickey and I, special incentive just for this group. If you're on this call between today and yes, we'll go back to 8 a.m. if anybody happened to sell one already today before this call, thank you. But from today through the end of October, every time you sell a plan, you get your name into a hat for a drawing for $100. And whichever one of you sells the most between now and the end of the month will get $100. So $100 random prize, $100 to the top producer between now and the end of October. So there you go. Talk about it, see what you can do. I'm sure everybody knows how to get a hold of me, but if not, reach out to Jim or Robin or anybody else, and they'll share my information. We're here to help, so let us know what we can do.
It's the only time we allow backdating. Back to 8 a.m. this morning. That's awesome. Yeah, perfect.
Yep. That
And-
sounds good.
Maddie Stokes did share her email template language, and I put that in the chat for
Great.
those of you that are interested. So I think something that she includes on her emails.
Perfect.
I
Yeah, this
also
this
like,
this is a great product, and it I think it starts with this crew. I just don't think the agents are kind of involved in this as much as the folks on this call are, because you're kind of the front line, right? Putting together quotes, taking those phone calls, kind of doing renewal deals. So this all starts with you, which is kind of why we want to kind of engage you more so than the agents. The deductible reimbursement is really cool. I've had some agents say, well, now that all the deductibles are up so high, it doesn't make sense and we're not finding the savings to pay for this. I'm not so sure you need to find the savings to pay for this. I'm not so sure we need to offset that deductible. It's a cool feature, right? Even if they have a 2% like Progressive or some of these others where they got a $10,000 deductible, still going to be pretty cool to get $2,500 back. That insurer's going to be thrilled. They're probably going to forget they have this plan, right? So to get a $2,500 surprise at the time of claim is going to be really look good for you and your agency. But I think you also need to look at who's got young drivers with older cars or anybody with older cars, right? We have an agent in this agency that's used the repair portion of the auto part 5 times since he's had the plan. So, you have an alternator go out, the bill's $800, you're getting 20% back. You have a wheel bearing go out, another $1,000 and you get 20% back. So now I could make the case the agent needs to buy a new car. But I think, a lot of your folks with a lot of VIN numbers are, second cars, work cars, kid cars. They just break down, you just get these unexpected repair bills. So to get 20% back up to whatever the cap is, $1,000 or something, that's pretty cool. The other piece is all the toys. I know somebody on this call that has a really, really nice brand new UTV, right? And probably not going to have problems with it, but at some point wheel bearings go out, winches go out, whatever, right? Lower units on boats. Progressive is pretty good about paying for those if they can prove it was rock damage or whatever, if you got the lower unit coverage. Other carriers don't. So it's a big expense. Pretty nice surprise, with this plan to get them on the automatic pay. Just get it on the credit card like the streaming services do, right? Netflix is great. You always forget you have Netflix, right? So I just think we talk about this.
Yeah, good point, Jim. My brother-in-law used it on his boat last year. He had $3,000 worth of electrical damage. He got 20% back, so he maxed out at $500 and had $500 left. And I really like your point on the homeowners. For $249 a year to get $2,500 back, if they have one homeowner's claim every 10 years, which most people will, it's a no-brainer. Plus, they have all the other benefits. I really like on the vehicle side, again, with all the toys and things, that makes sense. Sell it more like AAA. It's just a benefit. Don't look at changing deductibles, but do think of it as what is the net deductible. I had somebody the other day on 2 motorcycles, raised the deductible from $250 to $1,000, saved almost $700 just on those 2 items. But ultimately, raise the deductible to $1,000. Yep, they're going to have to pay it. But 2 to 3 weeks later, they get the $1,000 back. Their net deductible is $0. So you get some premium savings. But even if there isn't the premium savings, the idea of a net 0 or a significantly lower net deductible is a good selling feature as well. So good point, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
And
I know my time is up.
One other one is that just comes to mind because we get this claim all the time, usually denied, right? It becomes a maintenance bill. Is rodent damage to boat wiring, watercraft wiring, right? Usually not covered. Yeah. Now, you're not going to get a big payback to get that repaired, but by having the maintenance plan on that, they're going to get 20% of the repair bill back up to the cap or whatever. So it's giving that insured something, that peace of mind a little bit coming back to them, right? And it secures that insured. I mean, that's the overriding factor on why we do this. More policies in the household, harder to leave. So differentiates you from the competition. So there we go. $200 on the line total between 8 a.m. and October 31st.
You got it. After trick or treating, we'll do the drawing. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Gentlemen.
Thanks, Robin.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I know there was one other comment before Jim started to talk. Well, if
I
you
must
think
have
about,
answered it.
yep. If you think about it, please jump in. Welcome everyone that was not on the beginning of the call, because I know numerous people patched in. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I want to spend a little bit of time now on November 14th, our errors and omissions insurance renews. So that's our expiration date. So I've been working on the application and, securing that coverage and working with the renewal. And I thought, what better thing for me to do than to see what you all proactively do in your agencies? Because of course, it's just like every other line of insurance, right? We're going to want to do some loss control. We're going to want to be proactive and avoid claims, especially E&O claims, because they can be quite costly, not only in the claim itself and how it affects our future renewals, but within your agency, it creates a lot of chaos, a lot of extra work. You have to work with our carrier and the adjuster and basically, like provide all your documentation and proof that you did your job, because at the time of loss now, we're going to be she said, or he said, she said, and the onus is going to be on us to make sure that we did our jobs professionally and fully. So, which I know all of the people on this call today do a wonderful job day in and day out. So I had asked you, I provided you with a list of 10 things that you can do proactively and asked for some feedback of examples of things that you guys are doing on a regular basis. And so I just want to highlight those, and I'll call upon each of these people to, if you have any additions or you want to just to have a different another comment, please jump in. So I heard from the Cat&I agency, a couple of you, and Marilyn wrote, the biggest thing that is done in our office is documentation. With only Eclipse to cover questions from clients, we need to document phone conversations so everyone in the office knows what was discussed with the client. Also, signatures on every change so the client knows what coverages they have taken or removed from policies, changes, etc. So she actually highlights several things there that I want to just kind of highlight. Obviously, one is documentation. We talk about that all the time. So I think that's a given. Everyone, is in our agency management system. You're documenting what Marilyn highlighted, phone conversations, interactions, not only to be proactive with our E&O, but I think for those of you that have multiple staff members, even if it's just you and the agent, it's really nice to be able to go to the customer, say you're out and someone's looking to finish change or to continue to help the customer. They can look at the conversation, they can look at what happened on your last documentation entry. So I think all of these examples are going to serve multiple functions. I like the signatures on every change, and I know several of you, I've seen you in action sending out an email to confirm the change. So you've talked with the customer, you've made the change, then you're going to confirm that change with the customer. I know that I saw Aaron Huber do it in Moorhead when I was with you. I know I saw Maddie in Moorhead. Jessica, I think in Rochester, I saw you doing that. So I think that that's a common occurrence. Again, what better way to be able to, when someone's coming back, like, I don't think I said that, or I didn't deny that coverage. And then you bring up the email and you shoot that off to them and say, oh, look, in fact, you did do that. Here's the email. I think that that's really, it always gives me a little bit of zing, right? To be able to provide that documentation when there's a question, but also that is going to be helpful in the time of loss. If there was a loss that was concerned with a change or a policy update that did or did not get added to the policy, I think our documentation is really powerful. Marilyn, did you have anything to add? I know that the Cat&I agency is on the call. But not sure. I don't think that they have a microphone. So put it in the chat. Jessica, I had mentioned Jessica Anderson in Rochester that works for agent Chris Sanders, said she tries to document everything. Phone calls, even if I didn't talk to anyone, and leave a message to prove that I've tried and how many times. So not only the actual phone conversation, but that chain of communication attempts. In addition, if a message is left, I will also email from Eclipse attempting with another method. I like to call that professional stalking. So we try to call someone, we get their voicemail. Perhaps we have their cell phone, maybe we'll text them. And maybe we'll send an email that says this is follow up to the voicemail and the text message that I left for you. I love that. And that's a great way also to get those additional touches with the client saying, hey, I'm really trying to reach you. I'm really trying to do a great customer service job for you. She says, I recently sold a condo policy to a client that wanted bare minimum coverage with no endorsements. I made several recommendations and explained them, but the client wanted bare minimum. I documented the conversation in Eclipse and created a rejection document that the client signed. So again, multiple things there, Jessica. She is providing information, not only just on what the client asked for, but you know what? Let's suggestively sell. Let's bring more to the table and say, hey, these other coverages are available. You provide them. If they do not want them, you're getting a rejection in writing. And then also that education piece, taking the time to slow down and explain things, making sure that they understand. I think so much in our fast moving society right now, we don't get that. We are so much is pushed onto us as customers, whether that's insurance or different marketplace. Can you hear me? So much is put on us as customers where we have to figure it out ourselves. I think people are just yearning for once in a while, just have someone to shepherd them through the process, explain what's going on, answer all of their questions, make them feel comfortable. I think that is really, really powerful. And all of that, when you're doing that, you're protecting yourself, you're building the relationship with your customer. And so at the time of loss, or when there is a problem that might turn into an errors and omissions claim, they're going to have some good faith. You're going to have some goodwill with your customer and be able to say like, hey, let's take a minute and think about this and look at the documentation. You're going to be teed up in a really positive way. Sherry Madris from Allie Peters' office in Goodhue writes, when going over quotes for new policies, we go line by line through the quote discussing coverage limits and explaining what the coverages and any exclusions are. I also document everything, probably more than I need to. I don't think that that's possible. When someone calls in, I always write the date and time on my note and that they called and what they are in need of. Then I scan and document my note along with any changes or requests that they have, and I send an email confirming the change request and that the change or request has been completed. So some of the same things that we've heard from the others, but the one unique thing that I had never heard before is Sherry scanning those handwritten notes in and attaching those to her documentation, which I think is really, really a smart idea. Maybe, you know, you had a note on there that you weren't going to include. You can just scan that in and put that right there as long as you have that handwritten documentation. Sherry, anything to add on that? Or Jessica? I didn't call in Jessica. I'm on to you guys. This is what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask questions and have you email me the answers because I love your answers and I love your insight and I love sharing this, what you guys do in each of the individual offices. And I think it's really powerful to share that. So I'm on to you. Nicole at Cat Knot Agency writes, while we follow all of these practices, so the 10 top ones that I had in my email, I would say that the one that I am most involved in is number 8, review policies annually with clients. Conduct formal renewal reviews and coverage of evaluations and use this opportunity to identify changes in the client's risk profile or business operations. She writes, one thing that has been a large part of my role at CatNa has been preparing policy renewal documents for us to review with our clients before renewal. We also review those policies before the appointment and make sure to document any underwriting changes that will be made at renewal and check the change in premium. We often have people review their policy and say, I sold that months ago, or I forgot to add my new tractor, etc. With us having a large amount of farmers insured, we are making equipment changes often, and they appreciate us keeping track of all of those changes for them. So first I want to say, awesome. I think that's a great practice. I think regular touches with your insured are really, really useful and powerful. I don't want to intimidate everyone. Today, actually, we were talking here about policy, like annual renewals. You're not going to probably be able to touch everybody every year. But if you think about maybe making a commitment to 25%, 1/4 of your book. So every 4 years, making sure that you have reviewed that policy, sat down or offered to sit down, offered to answer questions, just having some type of consistent program in your office, I think is a really, really good way to manage renewals. And it's something that, I think takes commitment and intentionality, because as we've seen, the environment and industry can get so chaotic. But if you have a program and you kind of work that program, you're going to have exceptions. People are going to come in, ask questions, ask to meet. But this way, then you know that you're touching them every 2, 3, 4 years. But I think that that's a great way, as long as you're documenting, right? Like you're documenting everything. Great way to protect yourself from an E&O claim. Josh Masson, who I know is on the call here with us, said, I have to say the 3 things that stick out to me are: 1, I think we at the Masson Agency try to do a very good job documenting everything and double checking, triple checking throughout the entire process, while also trying to be very diligent in meeting the clients in person for renewals. 2, the other thing we have noticed and we have got many compliments on is being in the office and trying hard to stick to our posted hours, even when it's tough on a beautiful summer or fall day. People like the small town feel of coming in, sitting down, and knowing we'll be here to discuss options or answer questions. And lastly, returning phone calls or emails same day to the customer, and in rare occasions the next day. But if at all possible, same day service or some sort of same day correspondence. I think that is, again, so powerful, especially his last comment. So I know a lot of us like to get back to our customers right away. Sometimes we're not going to have the answers, or we're not going to have the solution that same day. But I like how Josh put that, or some sort of same day correspondence. So just letting them know, I got your request, or I got your message, I got your email, I'm working on it. I'll get back to you as soon as I get an answer. Thank you so much. We appreciate your business. Those types of, I think, additional communications, again, in this fast moving culture that we're in, where we're really not getting a lot of customer service, each of those touch points, I think, really make a difference with your customers, building that goodwill. And lastly, from Erica up in Roseau, says, always attaching emails to the customer in Eclipse to have details of the conversation and a timestamp. This is a great example of documentation, correctly storing your documentation. So over the years, I've had people tell me, well, I save all of my emails. Emails do not hold up in court because emails can be altered. When we pull the email over to our agency management system, it is permanent documentation. We can't unattach it. It gets a date stamp and it becomes a permanent record on the customer file. If we are doing this consistently in the court of law, they're going to see that we do it consistently. And if there's an email attached, it is rock solid evidence of whatever is documented in that email. So I know some of you are really, really good at clearing your email inbox. And some of us, myself included, are not so good about having a clear email inbox. I don't delete everything, or I don't have a blank slate. That's not as important as pulling over the important details into Eclipse or a Hawksoft soon. And then once they're there, you can delete them from your Outlook. You don't need to keep them in your Outlook. Once you put them over into Eclipse, you can delete them. And for those of you that like an empty email inbox, then that will give you a little rush of pleasure. Like, okay, that one's done. I've attached it over in Eclipse. Those are the emails that I got, but I'm welcoming other comments, and for anyone that comments, I will also put your name for the drawing of the $100 gift card.
I just have to say, my inbox, I get so uncomfortable if I have more than 10 emails in it. And my boss he's got thousands of emails in his inbox, and it stresses me out.
Yes, and you know what? I really appreciate your conscientiousness, Maddie, because I think that that stress is really an indication of you want to make sure that things are done and done correctly. And I really, really appreciate that because it takes everyone in the agency to continue to build a successful agency, not only for your individual agency, but for the organization as a whole. You know, our loss ratio is, we have had very few E&O claims the 10 years that I've been at the agency. And I think that that is really a testament to the professionalism of the people on this call that are doing a lot of the service work, doing a lot of the nuts and bolts and the heavy lifting day in and day out. A lot of things can go wrong, and they can go wrong very, very quickly. So super impressed with the jobs that you do today, sitting with Shylin and Carrie. You know, I don't get to talk to customers on a daily basis, or really kind of almost never, unless they accidentally get to me, which is every once in a while, but you know, maybe like 4 times a year. You know, you guys deal with 4 customers in probably a 20-minute time span on certain days. And the way that you can juggle and prioritize and document is so integral to our success. And I really want to thank everyone for doing such a wonderful job. And thank you, everybody. Josh, Jessica, Nicole, Marilyn, Erica. Thank you for giving me a slice of the things that you do on a daily basis to help us with those E&O. Let me just look at my list and see if there's anything else that I wanted to. And pretty much all of your examples touched on all 10 of those. The only other one, I avoid overpromising. So I'm sure someone has told you in some way, shape, or form that when someone calls about, hey, is that covered? We don't want to say, yeah, I think that's covered, or no, it's not covered. That's really for the carrier to determine. That's kind of insurance 101. I think a lot of the other ones we have touched on. One thing out of this conversation, talking about the E&O, talking about processes, one thing that's come up, and I've asked a few of you your opinion on this, and I do really want people to weigh in, and you can put it in the chat if you would like. But one thing that we are thinking about transitioning to currently, when we think about mailing insured policy documents, currently personal lines documents go straight to the insured from the carrier. And that has been our standard operating procedure since I've been with Farmers Union for 10 years. Commercial and farm documents have typically in the past and currently are mailed to the agency. So they're mailed directly to your agency if you have a subcode. And if it's a master code company, such as Travelers, those documents, insured documents, get mailed to the state office. We have to touch them, process them, and then we put them in the mail to you. A couple things I'm seeing happening. One, the mail is so slow. I think also the renewals are not being processed as expediently as I've seen in the past. So the renewals aren't going out as early as historically they have been. And then they get stuck in the mail, and then they perhaps get mailed to us. Then we have to get them to you. And so what I would really like to transition to and I've gotten some good feedback on this, is all insured documents be mailed straight to the insured from the carrier. So you would no longer receive the paper copy, the paper insured copy, to be delivered however you've been doing that. I know some of you have been transitioning with some of your clients to email those documents, or you have to mail them to the insured. So in some cases, that's the third time we're mailing those documents. What are your feelings about transitioning to those commercial and farm policies being sent straight to the insured? I see Shylane it. Can we see? Oh, we can see you.
Yes,
She,
please.
yep, yes, she says yes, please. She's shaking her head.
I agree as well. This is Chris. I just feel like sometimes they're not getting the policy documents. I'm still kind of figuring out the process too. So to hear you talk about it is really interesting, like the way it's supposed to go. But yeah, I would agree, because we could still follow up with electronic copy or just a touch point, right, with an email or a phone call.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, what I'm envisioning is I would send out an email to everyone in the agency, including, this group, as well as agents, state office staff. And basically, we could work it into the sales cycle and say, instead of I will deliver your policy, or however you've been handling things, that we would have to work it in, the policy will be mailed directly to you. When you receive it, certainly give me a call. I would be more than happy to go through it with you, or however you feel comfortable working that communication, because I think that we would want to communicate with the insured about when and where their policy documents are going to appear. A lot of our deck pages we're receiving those through eDocs. So they are available in our agency management system. And I know that soon with HawkSoft and HawkLink, we're going to have even easier access, more expedient access to our carrier systems. And then I know that it's going to be much easier to attach policy documents in our agency management system than it was in Eclipse. Currently in Eclipse, we have to save it as a PDF into pending attachments and then attach it to documentation. That's going to be more streamlined. It's going to be a little bit more automatic. So I think all of these factors are kind of leading me to really look at the industry, look at the environment, look at what's going on, and just saying, I think it's time to change our policy. But I really want feedback from this group, because I think you guys are the ones that are oftentimes dealing with those documents and the back end of that sales cycle. Anyone else? Any other thoughts on that?
I agree, because I think it's a waste of postage. Just, with the amount of how heavy those policies are. And I would say 90% of the time they get shredded in our office, because we do so much electronic. Because we're also not mailing those out to our clients. Or if it's farm or commercial, we hand deliver them. So most of the time it gets shredded in our office anyways. So we're fine with whatever you choose.
Great. Thanks, Erin.
Yep.
Well, if you have any thoughts on that you don't want to share and you want to talk to me about that, please let me know. I am thinking that I will pull that trigger in November and go through that process with everyone. So then we're already on that system when we do the conversion to HawkSoft in January. So we're not dealing with too many new things all at one time. Audra. I think I still see yep, there's Audra. I'm going to turn this call over now to Audra, and she's going to give you a little bit of an update on HawkSoft, and then see if we have any questions. And we're going to talk a little bit about HawkSoft here.
Okay, well, hi, everybody. First and foremost, I just wanted to mention that On our SharePoint I can't talk. On our SharePoint site, we have a tab now for Hawksoft and all things related to Hawksoft. There is the survey where you can submit questions or issues that you're having. The product support number is there. And then we do have the trainings that are listed. And that being said, our next one is on Monday, and that is inserting and managing a commercial lines prospect. The link to join is also included on the tab as well. And one of the items that I talked about with our trainer, our implementation specialist, Karina, is that I wanted to have a Q&A session with her for all of you after you have the 3 different trainings. She said that she would be more than happy to host an hour Q&A session to answer any and all questions. And that is also listed for December 3rd at 11:30 a.m. It's weird. All of our trainings and this Q&A session are 11:30 a.m. So if you can make that and join, please do so. I'm hoping that there is a lot of good discussion and a lot of questions being asked, and she will have the answers for us. So we've got the training on Monday, SharePoint, the Q&A. Let's see, I need to send out a few questions that I've gotten responses from, finally, from our Hawksoft team. And one of the suggestions that came through the SharePoint site was in Hawksoft, when you go to make the initial, I'm gonna pull it up here. The action tab. I was asked if the actions tab could be customized. The first 2 clicks in the action tab cannot be customized, but you may have noticed the 3rd click, that agent was added. Excuse me. The initial action menu items cannot be edited. They are hard-coded by Hawksoft. And the intention by that first click was to indicate the method of interaction. Was it a phone call? Was it an email? Was it a text? And then the next level of that menu was designed to specify whether the action was from or to someone. And the 3rd level is where we can indicate the agent involved. And so that was not included by default. And I did ask Hawksoft, and they told me exactly how I could go in and add that. So that has now been added. And if you have any other suggestions like that, please send them through the SharePoint site, and I will be more than happy to reach out to Hawksoft. But we do also want to think about what may work really great for one person may not work great for the rest of the agency. So I think we just want to make sure that we are making updates and to our Hawksoft system that really makes sense for everybody. I've also had a question about templates, and at this time, after speaking with Robin and Emily, right now we're going to try to keep Hawksoft and Eclipse somewhat similar until we really are comfortable with Hawksoft. And so email templates will be able to be customized, but the other templates that we'll be eventually inserting into Hawksoft will be standard for everyone involved. And if you haven't, please, I did send out the email with the information on links to the videos that we should be watching, and trying to at least every day, whatever you're doing in Eclipse, try and do that in Hawksoft. And if you have any questions, please always feel free to reach out to product support. They are some of the most helpful people and very patient with all of the questions that I have. And they can really walk you through things in real time. They can port into your computer. They can see what you're trying to do and help you. So please do reach out to them with any questions that you have. I'm like all of you, I'm learning all of this as we go along as well. And that's what I have, Robin.
And Audra, so this is what you're talking about, right?
Yes, this
With
is
the
what I'm
action.
talking about. So when you're in Hawksoft and you go to that action tab, the lightning bolt, or you can just right click and it will also pull up the action menu. And then that is your first level. So how, from, to, and then if you choose something like, you could say it was an email, Robin, and it was to, and you click on to, and then you can go all the way down and you can select agent. So maybe you have somebody walking in who is coming to visit the agent, or whatever it may be, you can now choose agent in that action menu.
Gotcha. One other question that came up yesterday in the Connect 4 with agents,
Okay.
which I did answer, and I'm hoping that I answered it correctly. And I think people on this call might be interested. So any customizations that you might do to preferences
Mhm.
in the sandbox, that will carry over and be maintained or retained once we do the last data transfer. Is that correct?
That is correct. And that is something that I did reach out to Karina at Hawksoft about, asking that if we have a specific setting, will that transfer over when we convert? And she said that yes, that it should transfer over. The one thing that she did mention is that, I'm just looking here.
So while Audra
Okay.
looks, I just was going to say, so the differentiation that we're thinking here is any data. So customer data, the documentation, the activity listings, all of the data that's in the sandbox, they're going to pull that out, and then they're going to flood in the fresh, up-to-date last data transfer from Eclipse, which is going to happen at the end of December. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about any preferences that you might go into, settings or preferences, or if you do a template, that's what I'm talking about. Something that's more universal and nuts and bolts to the system, but not data.
And yeah, I found my note here where it says that any correspondence templates that are created prior to going live will remain in place and won't need to be recreated, and user settings such as preferred browser platform should carry over without any issue. And one other thing too, that you all, I don't know if you're seeing it, but behind the scenes, I've been updating the lines of business for all of our carriers and entering in their websites and doing a lot of the behind the scenes work. So if I've not gotten back to you right away, I apologize. It's just a lot to try and get entered. And I'm about halfway done.
Other questions that people have that you might experiencing? I really encourage everyone, if you do not log in every morning to Hawksoft, please, when you bring up Eclipse, also bring up Hawksoft. It is so easy. Once you're in there and you have the icon on your toolbox or you have a saved icon for it, you click on that. You don't have to put your password. It doesn't time out. You can have it open all day long. I actually have been turning to Hawksoft to look up customers and I just find it's a little bit easier to get the information quickly. So just have that ease of getting in there, get familiar with the look of it, the feel of it. Even if you're not, actively working in there, at least you're getting some just looks at it, I think are also very, very important. Great. Well, questions? I think the easiest way is to go into SharePoint, go into the Hawksoft tab that I showed you, and then hit the button for a survey. It's not really a survey. It's just you putting your name and email, and then you can put your question, your problem, your issue, all of that can be, and that goes directly to Audra. And then we have a full documentation of all of that, that if we need to, we can pull all the entries from that survey and get them to Hawksoft and continue to work with them with some of these issues that we are finding. Because I think there's going to be a few things, although it's going rather smoothly. I hope that you guys feel like you're getting a little bit more comfortability with the system, or even just the look of it. Well, for lack of any other questions, I'm going to have Carrie draw a name. So it's like cards. All right. Sherry Madras is the $100 gift card winner. I will send that off to you at the end of the week here in the mail. Watch for communication on changing that mail protocol. So I will be sending out email. And if you have any questions or comments or input about that, please let me know soon, because I want to make sure everyone is comfortable. And if there are any issues, I want to know those too, so I can make, I, along with the staff, can make an informed decision for the best way of handling this for the agency. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Any parting comments? Jim Hick, yes, you're unmuted.
No, I don't. I'm good. Yeah,
You're
thanks
good?
for all you guys do. There's $200 on the line. Backdated to 8 a.m. this morning, so that's
All
pretty cool.
right. Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Yep. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day, and remember to level up. See you soon.